Hi guys and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Superbike 22. We're here in Magny Cours for a time trial, and feast your eyes on the brand new DrAce helmet. Fantastic design from SirChioXXXIII. Once again, he's outdone himself and I absolutely adore this helmet. If you're looking for your own helmet, a custom design that you want someone to create for you using the in-games editor, SirChioXXXIII is your man. If you want to get in touch with him, you can do so on his Instagram with a link in the description down below, or even join the Discord server and ask him directly. He is on PC, so you will have to ask him if it is for PC. Now, most importantly, this video, the topic of today, is going to be here in Magny Cours on board the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10RR, and after some recent lap times and some recent career mode races, I feel really good and I want to know where my potential lies here in the French circuit. Now, the last time I attempted any time trial around here, I do believe, was a 134.9 set with Alex Lowe's way back when, but that might have been right at the beginning of the game almost, and I'm pretty confident that we can improve upon that, because if you watch the Magny Cours race recently, you'll know that I was pretty dominant there, and my fastest lap time, I think, in the qualifying for the Super Pole was a 133.4. So if we can get close to that, I'll be very happy, but that's a different situation. That's not really in a time trial situation, so you can maybe abuse track limits a little bit. Of course, here in Magny Cours in a time trial session, the second you touch the outside of the circuit, your lap time is invalid. So we'll certainly look into that for this race, but excuse me, for this time trial session. But now into the final chicane. Got to get this right, otherwise you end up invalidating not one but two laps. And across the line it is a little bit slower, but we did make a mess into the Imola chicane, so yeah, it's going to happen, and it will happen, and it does happen a lot in that particular chicane. But on the right hand side of the motorcycle now for turn 3 for the Estoril corner, slight adjustment there. I thought I was going to run it a bit too tight, and if you watch the career mode race you'll notice that I did run it a little bit too tight to the apex there a few times and make a few mistakes. But braking hard now into Adelaide, the most difficult braking zones, or at least most hardest braking zones of the circuit. I would say maybe turn 12, 13 and 14 can be a little bit difficult, but Adelaide I usually feel pretty good as long as I brake well before the Pirelli bridge, the big shadow you see before getting into the corner. But now bringing on the power and braking quite early for the left hand side for the 180 degrees corner for turn 9 as we bring on the power and get the change of direction. Nice upshifting here. I do think with a little bit more tweaking of the settings and most importantly the transmission, I think a brilliant lap time to the point where I can get with the esports riders perhaps. Maybe not with them, but closer. We'll see what happens towards the end of this race. I said it again, but by the end of this time trial session, I've got to see where my pace is going to be, and then maybe for the future I can look at changing transmission. But I do know that we reached 5th gear too easy, or at least max out the 5th gear a little bit too quickly. I think we need to stretch that out a little bit. Very similar to the way we do it in Mazzano, but across the line it's a 135.4, so certainly no improvements as of yet. But we're just warming up. We're just getting used to things. I'm using the DualShock 4 controller again as well now, so I'm quite happy to be back on my preferred controller. But I do appreciate that if anything does happen to that controller, it's going to be more and more difficult to buy a brand new DualShock 4 nowadays. So eventually I will have to adjust over to the DualSense controller, and after recently doing the video with the DualSense, it was an interesting experiment which I'm certainly going to be doing more of very, very soon. So now, of course guys, if you are enjoying the content, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing as well. I'm on the push for 5,000 subscribers, and quite frankly I need your assistance, so I'd be very grateful if you could hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. But into the second split, we are up by 2.5 tenths of a second, but that is comparing it to the previous Ghost, or at least turning the Ghost off, and there is invalidating the lap. A little bit of an error, just bringing in a bit too tight to the apex end. Disappointed I've ended up invalidating the lap. I was not really looking to do that. I'm trying to do as many consistent lap times as I can without making too many errors, and of course most importantly not invalidating laps. But it is what it is. Using the DX1 tyre, and I think it's the D1 tyre. It certainly is. There it is, D1 and DX1 tyres. I'd like to leave that on the screen for you so you guys can see which tyres I'm using. But into SirChioXXXIII, got to get this right now as we go into the right hand side, change of direction, beautifully done there, across the line. It's a 134.5, so that is our fastest lap of the session. Still not into the 133s yet, but quicker than the previous lap time that we did when we almost first got the game. So pretty good stuff so far. Yes, it was invalidated, but we still have a lot more laps to go yet. So stay positive, aces. Stay positive. I'm sure we'll get into the 133s as much as it takes. So now coming into Golf and then firm on the brakes before the Pirelli Bridge, up by 3.5 tenths of a second. We go firm on the anchors for Adelaide, a little bit wide but then bringing in. Nice upshift there. Bit of a sacred meerkat tactic for you there. Notice he upshifts quite early, especially going into second gear or from the first gear corners. That way it stops the bike spinning up. A little bit of a tip for you there. Maybe that's going to be something to discuss in a future video when I do some more guides. But for now, that has helped a treat. 4 tenths of a second up we are going into turn 10. Change the direction into 11, keep it in as tight as you can. Upshift a little bit too early there for my liking. I went into 6th gear thinking that could help us with some traction, but honestly, that was a mistake. I should not have done that. It was a big error. So I will not do it for the next lap if I certainly don't help it. But we now go underneath the Pata Crisps Bridge and then keep it over to the left hand side. 200 metre marker, 150 metre marker, braking roughly into the SirChioXXXIII corner. Bring on the power, bring on the turning angle, turn onto the left hand side, beautifully done across the line. It is a 134.6, so that is our new fastest lap within the time trial session. Pretty good stuff so far. So just 4 laps in, an improvement, and a lot more time still left on the table yet. So stay with us, aces. I think this is going to go pretty quick. Loving the Kawasaki though. I cannot just tell you in words how much I'm enjoying this bike more than the others. Now of course it makes sense, if I played with the other bikes more often then probably I would change my mind, but for now I love this Kawasaki. It's smooth, it's easy to bring on the power, it's got quite a lot of speed as well, but it's also really good on the brakes too, and the brakes are vitally important to me. I find that the Yamaha is not so great coming into on the brakes, and the Ducati feels great always, but I don't like how it doesn't really move as much as the Kawasaki and the Honda, for example. I like a bike to be stable, but I also like it to be a little bit loose, so I can chuck it round and feel the limits, and Kawasaki is definitely the bike where I found that. But now braking into the Imola chicane for turn 12, change of direction there for 13, a little bit wide, almost touching the green, but now into Chateau d'Eau, keep it in as tight as you can, a little bit too tight there, don't you think? But with the DX1 tyre, this is something for you to mention. I made the tyre video quite a while ago and tried to give you a good understanding of which tyre does what. I really prefer the DX1 tyre for this particular circuit. Coming out into that final bit from Chateau d'Eau to, just cutting the corner there for turn 16, 17, that is going to invalidate both lap times here, so I guess this lap time doesn't really matter. But back to the DX1 tyre, the rear tyre of course. Bringing on the power from Chateau d'Eau into the right hand side, going underneath the bridge, and then to the left hand side going into SirChioXXXIII. The DX1 tyre has much better acceleration grip than the SC1 or the SCX tyre. I find with the SCX it just spins it up a little bit too much, the tyre gets a bit too warm, and that's even with pretty smooth acceleration. This one I can be quite firm on the acceleration, upshift a little bit into second gear just to give you that bit of push going in from Chateau d'Eau into the SirChioXXXIII, which will then put you into the final sector with good confidence and good speed. So bear that in mind if you're struggling with bringing on the power. Now of course if you are just bringing on the acceleration like a madman, then you are going to struggle, but if you're even struggling with a little bit of smooth acceleration, then the DX1 tyre may be the tyre for you when the rear tyre is concerned. But into 13 now, we are 2 tenths of a second, and this is of course the complex which I was referring to, so Chateau d'Eau. Bring on the power, quick upshift into second, keep it on the gas, and you can see it's still slipping. The rear tyre still wants to give way, but at the same time it's pretty consistent. It stays quite gripped, and I'm telling you, the DX1, ladies and gentlemen, is the tyre to go for if you're trying this lap. And I fumbled it into the turn 16, 17 again. Overthinking that one. That could have been a 134.2. just making a bit of a mistake, and actually just something I've just realised now, actually. This has just only just occurred to me now. That lap time I set with the 1:33.4 in my career mode was set with the SCQ rear tyre. So if we can get close with the DX1 tyre, then I think I've found even more speed than I would have imagined. That have only just occurred to me now, but braking firm for Adelaide corner. Of course, we aren't going to improve the lap time because this lap time is invalidated, but we've still got to push. And I always said, and I always will say, just because you've invalidated the lap, don't give up. This is a lap now that has no inhibitions. Doesn't matter what I do on this one, whether I cut the corner or crash, the lap time is already invalidated. So with that presence of mind of knowing that it's already gone, I'm going aggressive here. I'm bringing on the power a bit more strongly, I'm chucking the bike in earlier, and we're up by 0.6 of a second. Let's get it right going into the Imola chicane now. It's not really a chicane, but kind of a chicane. I'm always happy to say it that way, I don't know why. But braking firm now for the Chateau corner. We're going to bring on the power now. Second gear, third gear, up into fourth gear, then into fifth, and I might hang it on, or maybe upshift to six. Let's upshift to six, and then start braking in. We mustn't invalidate the lap time again, though, because I just really wouldn't fancy that. But into the final corner now. Don't bottle it this time around, please. Beautifully done. Bring on the power. It is a 1:34.4. So 3 very consistent lap times. Granted, they were all unfortunately invalidated. But we now have a couple more laps to do as we just... Whoa, scary moment going into turn 2 there. I think I went too eager on the power after coming out of the first corner, the Grand Cours corner. As we now bring on the power, we're down by 0.3 of a second, but I do feel we're losing time into Chateau Chateau, I think it's... my apologies, I always seem to get that one wrong, but into Chateau and then into Complex de la Chi. I find that I've been a little bit tentative since I invalidated those other laps. So now that the inhibition went for the other one, I feel like I can push even harder now as we now go firm on the brakes, keep it in nice and tight for the Nürburgring corner, change direction, bring on the power, and now start to brake for the left hand side for the 180°E corner. And look at the bottom right corner of your screen there, full rear brake being applied there, and 50 to 75% front brake pressure. Now bear in mind, if you go any further than that, you're probably just going to chuck the Kawasaki down in the road, so that is a confidence thing. You cannot just start braking like that without feeling the limit. And I have in online sessions that just go wide in Chateau d'Eau, so we aren't going to improve on this one, but in many online sessions, even in practice, races, I have dropped the front, and that's because you're finding the feeling, you're finding that limit. And thankfully I think I've found the limit with the Kawasaki, and that's why I'm able to carry so much speed in some of those corners. But change of direction now to set us up for the final lap, or at least final 2 laps if we get into 1:33, so I'm not entirely sure if we can get it done this time around. But 1:34.6 is a good lap, but bear in mind we had a lot of mistakes there, so let's focus on 10 laps or getting a 1:33, whatever comes first. But into Estoril corner, to the right hand side, up by 0.3 of a second. We didn't flummox the first couple of corners like we did on the previous lap as we now bring on the power. Keep an eye on that Pirelli sign, you see it's getting closer and closer. Begin to brake. Braking there, nice and early now, dropping the gears down gradually, not quite fast like we do on MotoGP. Keep it in nice and tight. Adelaide, quick upshift there, bring on the upshifts once again. Keep it over to the left hand side and use the braking marker here, right where the shadow is, to bring us into the right hand side. Very tight, the apex there, tight again for turn 8. Little bit wide, but we're still quite strong. Little bit more on the pressure for the brakes there, about 80% to about 75 actually. But we still stayed aboard the motorcycle. It does feel like I'm on the limit right now actually, as we'll look over to the shadow once again, braking firm for the right hand side. Probably the most difficult corner here in Magny Cours. Change direction looks good. 13, 14 beckons us. Is this going to be a 1:33? It's going to bring us in very close, but we bring on the power. We're up by 0.7, 0.8, oh, dropping down to 0.6. Might not come to fruition, but firm on the brakes will go for the Complex de la Chi. Keep it in nice and tight. Almost went too tight there. Quick upshift second. Pull it in nice and tight. Don't bottle it now. Change of direction. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, that was a beautiful entry. It's a beautiful entry, and that's a 1:33.765. Brilliant. Brilliant. So those are my lap times on screen. If you want to compare them with yourselves, maybe you want to have a little bit of a challenge, then you can have an attempt at doing this particular one. If you do actually beat my lap time, let me know in the comment section, or even let me know in the Discord server as well. But look at the leaderboards, we're up there in 5th position, just a second behind, literally a second behind from Jack Hammer. Of course, the MotoGP Esport rider, and Vindex up there as well. Brilliantly fast riders there, and we've put ourselves in the top 5. I'm quite happy with that, hope you guys are too. Well guys, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching the video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you really enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching and ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.